We continue here on TYT Sports. That is Denise, I am Rick. Thomas Bach is the IOC president, and here's what he said about the participation of esports in the Olympics. Quote, we cannot have in the Olympic program a game which is promoting violence or discrimination. They, from our point of view, are contradictory to the Olympic values and cannot therefore be accepted. Of course, every combat sport has its origins in a real fight among people, but sport is the civilized expression about this. If you have e-games where it's about killing somebody, this cannot be brought into line with our Olympic values. Let me just go over some of the Olympic values.
Please.
That Thomas Bach loves to point out. In 2017, 6 current or former members of the IOC have been accused of receiving bribes in exchange for votes in the awarding of sports events. Again, preaching Olympic values, right? Olympic values. So let's continue. The 15-count indictment alleges that Thomas K. Welch, 55, the former president of the Salt Lake City Bid Committee, and David Johnson, what a white guy name, 41, the former vice president, paid $1 million to improperly influence votes of more than a dozen delegates of the IOC committee, which awards the host sites for the Winter and Summer Games. Not every esport is of violence. I would actually say, and we could show this, for League of Legends, for example, humongous game.
Right.
Yes, this is animated, cartoonish violence, and it's not like, oh my God, they killed Kenny, you bastard, sort of cartoon violence. This is like killing like crabs, right? And all these people are like, dude, this is a huge game.
Right.
Humongous game. So League of Legends, I'm in. I'm cool with it. You know what else we could do? If we could show the next one and my own personal favorite, Super Smash Brothers is pretty freaking big right now. If you ask me, yeah, there's a hammer and maybe you hit Donkey Kong in the head a few times because, hey, man, let's be real about this. He tried to screw over Princess Peach. So he deserves to get thrown off the airplane.
This is a good point.
But seriously, like, is this the most violent game you've ever seen? I understand his point if he were to say, you know, I've thought about Call of Duty and it's a little too much, or anything of that nature that shows blood and gore. Like, I think you'd have a stronger leg to stand on. To be so broad, and I think this is a big problem, to be so broad on the topic and say, well, esports are violent. No, they're not.
Right. No, and just to add to that, I agree 100%. I feel like the esports has grown so much popularity over the years where you have professional gamers, right?
Yeah.
You have people that have dedicated,
selling out stadiums.
They've dedicated their time. They have passion for this. Let's call it a sport for this talk or whatever. But
it is a sport.
It's a sport. So there's dedication, there's passion, there's practice that's involved in it. There's actual competitions that go around, and let's keep in mind that there's also a lot of sports that just became a part of the Olympics that no one ever thought would become or even be in the conversations with. And one of them being is, and not to say that I'm comparing esports to skateboarding, but the skateboarding is one element that people didn't think was ever gonna make it into conversations to be in the Olympics, and then look where we're at now. Now, I understand that the physical element might not be all there, but I feel like when it comes to just there's a lot of thinking involved with gaming.
Yeah.
You have to be one step ahead. And I feel there's different exercises as gamers. I'm not a professional gamer, so this is just what I see. There's a lot of exercises that come with the hands, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like in a sense there's a physical element, because the argument of a lot of naysayers as far as like saying this shouldn't even be a part of the Olympics or any conversations that involve that is that there is no physical element to it. But fact of the matter is, there is some physical element to it.
For sure.
You could cramp. You can do a lot of things with that.
Well, it's not just that. Like, I'm just touching on the violence part that he said.
Well, fair. But there's also a lot of other elements. And I feel like the violence part, that also could have stemmed
But
from...
that's what he pointed to, which is why we pointed out to call BS on it.
And I feel like the reason that he did is because of the recent current events that happened in Florida and two gamers that unfortunately passed away there. And it's very unfortunate that happened, but that I feel like that also could have happened in so many other conventions. When you have a large venue and you have people that are obsessive with whatever activity they're doing, because the person that committed this, this tragedy of a situation was like a competitor, from what I understand, right?
Yeah, and he lost.
And he lost, and he got frustrated. So that could have easily happened in any other sport.
So to go back to what I initially said, he's a former Olympic fencer.
Right.
Fencing is kind of violent. They play with swords.
Yeah.
Shooting a gun, that's an Olympic sport. Boxing, which I love near and dear to my heart,
Right.
that is a violent sport. So don't give me this,
Right.
it's too violent BS. There are other games that can be had. So let's try to be a little more educated and accepting on this, Mr. Botch.
Do you know what you could get for $4.99? Maybe 1 pack of Skittles. You know what's better? A lot of content. So download the TYT app, available on iOS and Android.